Hello and welcome to or welcome back to the TheSimplyCa. My name is Alana, and on this channel you are going to find yoga videos as well as coaching lifestyle videos with the flavor of human design. Right now we are working on the human design series so that you have a foundation of what all the elements are in human design. Okay, not all the elements, but a good understanding of the basics of human design so we can use the foundation of that to work on some lifestyle coaching in later videos. If you are enjoying this content, if you like this channel, go ahead and click on that subscribe button as well as the notification bell and let me know that you are enjoying what's going on. In today's human design video, we are going to elaborate on last week's video on authorities, and we're going to apply those authorities to some real world decisions. If you're excited to learn a little bit more about the authorities, stick around and let's get into the real life examples. Let's start off with an easy one, a daily decision about what to have for dinner. There are multiple areas in your human design chart that might influence what and how you consume and digest. However, today we're just going to be focusing on how to use your authority to make those decisions. If you are an emotional authority, you don't need to wait for your entire wave to come and go before you make a decision about a daily occurrence. That said, if you are noticing that you are on a high or a low of your emotional wave, it might be best for you to allow someone else to make the decision for you. It's likely that if you are on a low, you're gonna be really wanting something like ice cream for dinner. And it's not to say that that's wrong, but making that decision when you're in an emotional low of that emotional wave might not be the best decision for you. However, if you are looking to make that decision yourself, but you're feeling that high or that low, it might be best for you to do something with your energy. So cry, punch a pillow, go for a walk. My mom calls them arm swingers, where you're really like huffing and puffing and moving. Even if it's just a walk around the block. You might do a YouTube exercise video. You might put on one of my yoga videos and move through that emotion before you make a decision. Now, that's not to say that your emotion is going to move that quickly. However, you might be able to be present and move yourself in a way that you're able to then make a clearer decision. And if and when you're feeling neutral, allow yourself to eat what feels right, what feels good, what makes you feel like this is the thing I want to enjoy right now. The sacral authority is all about being in the body. So for you, it's not necessarily about how does this feel from an emotional or a feelings perspective. It's about how does my body react to this decision, which is where the sacral response of yes, no, or uh-huh, or expansive or contractive comes into play. So if you are a sacral response or a sacral authority, the best thing for you when it comes to making a decision is to either be asked yes-no questions or to ask yourself yes-no questions. And that could look something like, do I want Thai tonight? Do I want salad tonight? And then notice what that sacral or the pulling towards or the pushing away is reacting to. Once you find that go with it. That's the one. Now, for the splenic authority, this is all about the impulse that happens before the thought. So, what that means is when you're thinking about what do I want for dinner, you might have that initial impulse of I want salad. And then the thought pops in, but salad isn't enough. For the splenic authority, that impulse is the one that is correct for you. And especially if you have a right facing digestion arrow in your variables, which we will get into in another video. So if you are excited to learn more, click on the subscribe button and the notification bell, and that way you'll know when that video comes up. If you have a right-facing digestion arrow, that means that you are more passive in your digestion, which means that you don't necessarily need to be eating 3 square meals a day or on a regimented schedule. And intuitive eating is actually a really great tool for you to use. Now, I do want to caveat that by saying that for the first little bit of trying and testing that out, you might want to just like loosely calculate out some of your calories to make sure that you're in the range of what is appropriate for you, your activity level, your body type, all of that. And then you can kind of balance that out over the course of a few days versus being structured and regimented in every single day. So that is not just specific to splenic with right-facing digestion, but it is definitely true for that splenic right-facing digestion. It is that intuitive knowing of listening and responding to what your body is asking for in any given situation, moment, day, and being completely unregimented about what you're eating, when, and how. For these simple daily decisions, I have sort of grouped together the ego and the G center. So that is the ego manifested, the ego projected, and the G center authority, because all three of them really do have that talk it out essence to them. So that could be talking it out with yourself, that could be talking it out with a friend or your partner if you are having a meal with somebody else, and then noticing what blurts out, what is right for you, what is the correct decision that makes you feel the most empowered in your decision making in what you're choosing to eat. For the environment authority or the mental projector, you definitely want to pay attention to the environment that you're in, not only when you're making the decision to be what you're eating, but also when you are in that environment. So if you are going out to a restaurant for dinner, you want to make sure that the restaurant feels right for you. The lighting feels good. The area of the restaurant that you're sitting in feels good. You might decide, you get down there and you're like, I really want this food, but I don't really like the vibe of the place, and so I'd rather get this meal to go and go sit on the beach. That is totally reasonable, totally correct, totally fine. There might be a little bit of logic involved because this is very much in the head, but you want to make sure that you're not coming from a place of shoulds. You want to avoid saying, well, I should be eating this, or why am I feeling weird about this location? I should feel fine. I've eaten here before. Allow yourself that impulsive freedom to say, yeah, maybe I did eat here before and I felt fine, but tonight, maybe there's a reason that we want to go, that I'm feeling like I don't want to eat here and instead I want to go eat at the beach, or I'd rather just take this food home and go eat there. That's okay, and give yourself that space. So the logical part of this authority wants to try to force it to be a structured, logical approach, but the openness that happens in the rest of the body wants a little bit more freedom. So give yourself that leeway to shift if something isn't feeling correct. For the lunar authority, so for the reflectors, you don't need to wait 28 days to make daily decisions. That said, you do want to make sure that you are feeling good in the space and in the environment. So similar to the emotional authority that may really want ice cream for dinner when they are lactose intolerant and they're on an emotional low, that's not the correct decision for them. A reflector or a lunar authority might make a decision when they're in an environment or around people who they don't feel good with, and they make an incorrect decision for them. Which means for the lunar authority, for our reflectors, you do want to make sure that when you're making a decision, it's coming from a place, from an environment, from an experience that you feel good, you feel at ease, you feel enjoyment. With the lunar authority, you might notice that in a given lunar cycle, you're experiencing a certain theme or a certain type of energy. You can use that experience to help you create whatever decision is correct for you in that moment. Now, if something isn't feeling correct, or if something isn't feeling like the decision that you need to be making in that moment, if you're around somebody else who has a different authority and a different type of energy, go ahead and allow them to make the decision. You might be perfectly fine just taking part in whatever else is going on. And that's the thing about the lunar authority. And well, that's the thing about reflectors, is that you are there reflecting back the energy and being part of the energy that's happening. So if everyone else around you is really enjoying what's happening, and that splenic authority is like, let's go to this place, or let's change this table, and everyone else is really on that right wavelength, going with the flow and just being part of what's happening around you leads to that experience of surprise and delight and excitement. And that is fantastic for reflectors. Okay, let's take up our decision making a notch, and we're going to talk about going on a vacation. If you are an emotional authority and you are looking at making a decision about where to go on a vacation, you want to make that decision when you are feeling neutral in your emotions. This means you're not making a decision when you're feeling really glum and gloomy, and you're also not making a decision when you're feeling at a peak or at a high and almost like an unstable excited. Instead, you might want to give yourself a few options, or speak with whoever you're traveling with, if you're traveling with somebody, and allow those options to sort of percolate through your emotional cycle. As you go through that emotional cycle, you'll notice that point of neutrality. And once you reach that point of neutrality, then you can feel confident in making the decision of where to go or what type of vacation to take. For the sacral authority, it is that process of asking yes, no questions. So for the sacral authority, it might be something like, do I want a beach vacation? Yes or no. Do I want a city vacation? Yes or no. Do I want an adventure vacation? Yes or no. Do I want to go to Amsterdam? Yes or no. And give yourself that time to ask those questions, reel through it. It's almost like you're asking yourself a game of 21 questions, and you just sort of narrow it all down and figure it out. Or you could spin a globe, point to somewhere on the map, and then ask yourself yes or no, and then do a little bit of research and plan out your trip. Okay. With the splenic authority, it's all about the impulse that happens before the thought hits. For example, the impulse might be, I want to go to Mexico City. The thought might be, but what about my safety? I don't know where it's safe to stay. I don't speak Spanish fluently, and isn't that a place where I need to speak Spanish? I'm worried about the type of food. I'm worried about and this and that and this and that, and the thoughts just start trickling in. That impulse of I want to go to Mexico City deserves a little bit of investigation. So instead of writing it off completely, acknowledge that impulse, acknowledge that splenic hit, and then take a moment to do some research, find out where to stay, look into not speaking English and being in Mexico City. Watch a few YouTube videos of people who have traveled in Mexico City. Notice what it is that then is calling you to that place. And if it still doesn't feel right for you, that's okay. Don't put yourself in a position that doesn't feel correct. However, do give yourself the time and the ability to look into what that splenic impulse is, and it might be exactly what you need, and it might be exactly what you're looking for. And as you start to build and trust that splenic authority, you'll start to create an environment where it is always the right decision, and you begin to trust that it is the right decision, even though there might be a few little fear voices coming up. For the ego manifested, you're going to talk to a friend, a partner, a coach. If you are interested in coaching, there is a link in the description box below, and you'll be able to blurt out what the correct decision is for you. So you want someone to be able to reflect that correct decision once it blurts. You are not looking for permission or agreement or approval or someone else's opinion. You are only using that other person to help you process through your thoughts so that your truth can come out. For the ego projected authority, you're looking at what's in it for me? What do I want to get out of this vacation? Where am I going to feel the most empowered and the most powerful in my decision and in my vacation? So what might work best for you when you're making a decision is to have a list of options, a list of choices, and sort of test out or talk about which ones and notice through the lens of which ones are going to feel the best and the most exciting and the most beneficial for you. So you might think that you want an adventure vacation, but you might be feeling really tired and you actually really just want to go lie on a beach. And instead of shoulding on yourself about going to a vacation where you get to test out new things and try new things, allow yourself to go and relax and take some time, because that's what's going to be the most correct for your energy. For the G center authority, you're also going to want to talk out what decisions, what options are available, and through the talking out of all of your thoughts, you're sort of mind mapping verbally your thoughts. Through that process, you'll gain clarity on what it is that you want, and that will help you to lean and create direction in where it is that you're going in that vacation opportunity. For the environmental and mental projector, you might want to have a bit of a list to allow your mind to feel confident in the decision that you're making. Your mind wants to use that little bit of logic. And then from there, you want to make sure that you really are giving yourself that freedom to be in a correct space. So when you're making the decision, make sure that you're in an environment that feels good and safe and welcoming and warm, and all of those things that make you feel the most confident when you're making a decision. Then when you arrive at your destination, when you go to that place, if something doesn't feel correct for you, change rooms, take a taxi instead of the bus or the bus instead of a taxi. go with those choices and allow yourself to shift to be in an environment that feels correct for you. And for the lunar authority, you might want to use social media, and that works for everyone. But for the lunar authority, you might want to use social media in order to sort of test out and try on different options. You might speak with different friends and notice how you're feeling in their experience and reflect through their experiences. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that if they're not there, it's not going to be the same, but notice how their experiences are impacting you. And then you can make that decision through noticing what feels like the most true and the most exciting experience for you. The third and final real world example that we're going to use today as we walk through these different authorities is the opportunity to change jobs. This was a little challenging to create because there are so many stages of the process. So notice the themes of how each authority can make the decision and then apply that authority theme to each stage of the decision-making process when it comes to either staying in your current job or leaving your job for a new job or starting your own career path through entrepreneurship. Especially for emotional authority, you want to avoid rage quitting. You want to avoid making that decision when you are on a peak or a valley. You want to make sure that you are selecting your decision and moving forward with taking action at a moment when you are feeling neutral in that decision. So during a heightened experience, a heightened emotion, you might write out your resignation letter without actually submitting it. Give yourself the time and the space to allow your emotions to shift and neutralize before you take action. Now, if you're given a job offer, ask for the weekend, ask for the week to look it over and to make your decision. If they say no, that's not the right job for you anyway, because they're not going to give you the space to live in your emotional authority, and your energy probably won't be recognized. If they are accepting of that, which they should be, go ahead and take that time to feel into your emotions, to process through whatever you're feeling as you think about accepting or rejecting that offer. This kind of goes back to the energy types, but it's really important for all of us to not just say yes because something's been offered to us. Listen to your energy type, listen to your authority when making that decision, because it is okay to say no to something that isn't correct. For the sacral authority, you might want to take yourself through a series of questions as you're moving through this type of decision. You might start off with questions of, do I want to stay with my current employer? Yes or no. Do I want to stay in my current field but change employers or change industries? Is now the correct time for me to be looking for a new job? Yes or no? And feel into that. Once you receive that job offer, notice if you are feeling expansive and called and pulled towards saying yes for that job, or are you not feeling excited when you get that job offer in hand? That's an answer. Just because you've gone through the process, it doesn't mean you have to say yes to it. If you receive the offer and you're like, bleh, there might be something about it that's wrong, or it just might be the wrong offer and the wrong opportunity for you, and you can say no. So notice how your body is reacting. Is it expansive or is it contractive? And follow and say yes and say no according to what those feelings are. For the splenic authority, the impulse might be to stay in your current job, but the thoughts might be, but I haven't had any movement, I haven't had a pay increase, but I don't see the future potential in this company or in this position. But that splenic authority is saying stay. Something weird might happen. A merger might occur where all of a sudden there's new opportunity. The person more senior to you might leave, which then allows for you to be promoted into a position that you didn't think was possible. That little tiny splenic hit, that intuitive knowing, has a way of noticing everything that you're unaware of and giving you the urge to say yes or say no to something that logically doesn't make sense. For the ego manifested authority, you are going to be talking it out with somebody. You are going to talk through all the options and the ideals and the values and keep on processing through talking until you blurt out what it is that works, that makes sense, that you are excited by. Just like that. Notice through your verbiage, through your talking, what shoots out of your mouth, and notice that that is the call for you. For the ego projected, especially when it comes to work and career, it's so important for you to know that whatever is going on, you are satisfied. It is satisfying for your ego. What's in it for you energizes and empowers you. Because when you're energized and when you have that willpower and you're full of excitement for it, it kind of radiates through the energy and the environment that you're in. Otherwise, if you're saying yes to things that you just really are not behind, you pull yourself down, and unfortunately that can pull the energy of those around you down as well. It's so important that you listen to what's in it for me and you say yes when that feels like the right move. For that environmental authority, notice the feeling that you get when you're going to an interview. Notice how you feel in the space that you're in, because that could potentially be your space ongoing. So if you walk into that office and it feels weird to you, don't even worry about it. Ignore that whole interview. Go through it, experience it, notice it, but it's likely going to be a no. When it comes to making the decision about accepting a position, remember or notice again the energy in the environment that you're in, and notice if that logic is shoulding or if it feels like this is a good feeling experience for me to say yes to. And finally, for those lunar authorities, try on different experiences. So if you're looking at a new company or a new experience, talk to employees there. Be in the space. Experience walking to and from or that commute. Give yourself the time to test out, try on the experience of working there. From there, notice, does this feel good? Because you are reflecting the space around you, it's not good for you and it's not good for anyone else around if you are part of an experience that feels distressing in any way, shape, or form. So if you feel good in the space, it doesn't matter if it is a projector space, it doesn't matter if it's a generator space, it doesn't matter if it's a manifestor space, it doesn't matter for you. What matters for you is, does this feel good? Do I enjoy going to this energy? And then when you come home from that energy, do you feel good when you're letting that energy go for the day and moving into your own clear space? Give yourself that lunar cycle to test out what it is that feels good, so that when you're given an opportunity, you don't have to wait 28 days. You kind of already know where you are in that cycle and in that experience, and then you can say yes or say no. I really hope that this cleared up the authorities instead of making it more complicated. We've been conditioned through our open centers and through others and through our society to listen to others and to follow structured norms. And through this experiment of human design, we get to find out if those structured norms and those expectations are what's truly right and correct for our own unique energy. Or if those are conditionings that we need to slough off and allow ourselves the flavor and the space to take on our own energy and to shift out of what is expected and move into a different experience of our energy and utilizing our energy. Which for many people means that you're finding your own voice, you're finding your own truth. And for others, it means giving yourself space to step back a little bit instead of pushing forwards and driving for a result. The joy of human design is that we are all unique, and it gives us each that permission and that language to test out and try on different options so that we can really develop into our own unique energy and our own unique being. Because when you show up as uniquely you, not only are you sharing everything that makes you unique in your own empowered way, you're also giving everyone around you the permission to show up and to experience life in their own unique way, instead of pushing a judgment or an expectation onto each other. I really hope that you're enjoying these videos. Please let me know down in the comments below what you're taking away from this one. If you're still a little bit confused, go ahead and leave a comment in the description box and let me know if there's something specific for you that you're working on. The next human design video is going to be about the definitions, the different centers, and their expressions when they're defined and undefined. And then from there, we're going to talk about those variable arrows in their surface level experience. To be notified every single time I post a new video, click the subscribe button, the notification bell, and let me know down in the comments below what you are taking away from this video. See you in the next one.